guys? Welcome to another episode of Snap Decisions. I am your host with the most, the Marvel Snap DJ, and I've got another special guest with me on this week's show. I am Zal Snap. We have been talking for a long time. I wanted to have him on, and we just couldn't get, things happen, and work happens, and this happens, and so I finally got him here with me tonight. Zal, welcome to my show. I am really happy to have you with me. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Oh, the pleasure is absolutely all mine. I'm seriously so thankful that you had me on here. I've been waiting so long to do this with you. We've had so many things happen,
and
it's finally
for like
here.
A month.
Yeah, right, literally a month. But I'm so glad we finally can meet up and figure it out now. So thank you so much for having me on.
Oh man, no problem. Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to start with this because this is what, usually like to talk about people's backgrounds in both video games, maybe in card games themselves, because everybody kind of comes from somewhere. With me, it was Magic. I played Magic back in the 90s when it first came out, when it was just no digital versions or anything like that. Yeah, I wish I would have hung on to my cards, dude. Those cards are they go for so much money now. Some of the cards that I owned back then.
Is it like a Blue Lotus or Black Lotus?
I had a Black Lotus.
Oh.
I had a beta Black. Now, not just the original one. I had a black bordered Black Lotus, which was like literally yes. And they go for like, I almost got sick when I saw eBay and I saw how much those cards sell for. I was like, oh my God. A friend of mine that we used to play almost weekly. We'd go to a place in that we about a half an hour away from us, and they would have tournaments. And we play a lot there. We went to a few out of state, went to Jersey for a big tournament that they were, $10,000 prize and stuff like that. But he came up to me, and I haven't seen him for a while. And he walked up to me and he's like, Joe, he goes, do you happen to look on eBay and see how much our cards are worth? I'm like, no. And he goes, yeah, don't.
Oh, God.
Now, he sold his collection to pay for a down payment on his house. So that was then. So, but he told me, he said, Joe, we'd be millionaires. And I said, that's how bad they. And he goes, yes. And the kicker is those things are actually selling. They're not just sitting on eBay. People are buying these cards for that amount of money. I'm like, oh my God.
You see all the videos on YouTube, and anyone pulls one or something like that, it always goes viral immediately. You know what I mean?
My gosh, man. Yeah, both of us. Like his collection was more than mine because his had beta everything. So he had a beta Lotus. He had the Power 9, which is what they called them. So it was all the Mox jewels. So the Mox Jet, the Ruby, all of those. And then he had Time Walk, Time Twister, and I forget what the other one was, but they were all the broken cards that they got banned like almost instantaneously when the real game first started. You couldn't use any of them. But back then we were allowed to play with all that stuff. And we had it all. I was a black player strictly, and I played all discard. That's all I played. I never varied. I never went to other colors. I just played black discard. He liked to play land destruction, where it was a lockdown deck. Essentially, you blow up the other player's land, they can't do anything, and they sit there not able to play because they had no land.
I'm always down for some lockdown. So
yes. Oh well, you would have loved his deck because that's indeed what it did. And then there's a card called a Black Vice, where if you couldn't play, it did 1 damage to you for every card you held in your hand every turn. So if you're sitting there and you have no land to play, you can't use any cards. You're sitting there with a handful of cards, and every time you're taking damage for each card you're holding in your hand. It was nasty.
That sounds horrible.
Nasty. Yeah, it really was. So people, it's funny because people talk about Snap and they complain about Snap conditions and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you don't know until you've played some of these older games what lockdown really is or what all that stuff really is, because that stuff was just immensely broken. So
I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine.
Oh my gosh, it was crazy, man. But where did you get started? I know some people come from a video game background, like playing actual video games and stuff, or played other card games. So what brought you into Snap, man?
Well, I guess we can start with my video game history. What really got me into video games, my first ever console was a Game Boy. That's like the first thing I remember I had. It was my brother's. And so when I turned old enough to finally realize what I was doing, I played Pokemon. Sapphire and Ruby, Emerald. Those were my first ones. Kyogre will always be my favorite Pokemon of all time. But then, obviously I started progressing. I got a Wii eventually. Started playing some Wii Sports. That was blast. And my first real console was an Xbox 360. I'm a huge RPG player.
Me too.
Love Skyrim, it. Fallout, Red Dead Redemption, anything like that. I'm always so about all the Star Wars video games as well.
Oh man,
fantastic! I love them so much.
Knights of the Old Republic, baby, from back in the day. I played the hell out of those games. Yeah,
I just discovered that video game
So
like probably
good.
like 6 months ago. I have an account now. I can't stop playing it.
So good,
It's
man.
amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
But that's like basically my video games. Like, I still play RPGs, which is mostly what I play really at all.
Nice.
But I don't really have like a trading card or like a card game history at all.
Okay.
Really.
All right.
I played as a kid, I opened a couple Magic packs, a couple Pokemon packs here and there. But over COVID, when the whole Pokemon explosion thing happened,
Yep.
it was during COVID. So me and my friends were all out of school. We're all home doing Zoom classes and the whole nine.
Yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
was stuck at home though.
Yeah. And so we started getting packs because like they were starting to become expensive. And so eventually we turned to all those packs we were buying. We started playing decks and making decks. And so that was fun. But then I swear to God, this is exactly how it happened. I was at school and I saw an ad for Marvel Snap on YouTube. I was like, okay, well, that looks like pretty sick.
Okay.
I downloaded it, and the rest is history. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Nice. Now you were telling me before we started the show. Did you get in on beta or did you get in right after beta?
Global release. I didn't
okay.
think I knew there was a beta even happening.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I had no idea. So I played global release, and then there's Heartstuck Gold. I mean, I was seriously Heartstuck Gold. I couldn't do anything, so I stopped playing. I completely stopped playing. I came back for the Dakin season in August, I believe it was.
Yep.
And then I've been playing ever since then. I've been having such a good time. And hitting Infinite in the beginning, I didn't hit with docking. Well, because I was so brand new. I had no idea what was happening. So many new cards came out. And then for I think it was the Loki season next. I also didn't hit Infinite, but I've been doing it ever since. I've been killing it.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. I love it. Now, were you a first off, I got to backtrack. Are you a Star Wars fan overall?
Massive. I've seen them all.
Me too. Me too. It's great. I was talking about when Nerf Herder was on last week. Well, of course, his name is Nerf Herder, and I'm like, dude, you have to be a Star Wars fan. And him and I just went, and I saw the original when I was with my father. I was 8 years old. So
wow.
1977. We went to see it. No one knew what it was when it first came out. My dad's like, "You're gonna want to see this, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yep." He takes me to, and of course he falls asleep in the theater, and there I am sitting there watching Darth Vader appear on the screen for the very first time. Actually, and I still, when you went to the movies back then, they sold movie programs, so it's almost like you go to a Broadway show and you can get this like little booklet that would have the details of the actors and their backgrounds and all this kind of stuff. I still have it. He bought it for me. It was like $5, and I still have the program. It's yellowed and pink, the paper, because it's so old now. But it's one of the coolest things that I have.
That's amazing.
And I'll always remember it. But yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. I have been ever since I saw that. I've seen all the films. I've seen all the series on Disney Plus. I've read a ton of the comic books. I even played a game. There was a Star Wars card game that came out around the early 2000s, maybe in and around there, and I still have a binder full of those cards down in my basement that I used to play too. The game was hard as hell, and nobody liked it. It was kind of supposed to be taken after the whole Magic thing, after Magic got so popular, but it just never caught on because it was really, really hard to play. But yeah, dude, I love all that stuff, man.
The first Star Wars I saw was Episode 3. That was like the first one I remember. I was born in 2000, so my first trilogy was the prequels. And so I saw that one. And then like a little bit down the road, like once I started getting like middle school, I rewatched the whole entire thing. I absolutely adore it so much. I will always have a special place in my heart for Episode 3. It would just always be there. And then I think wasn't the 25th anniversary of Return of the Jedi?
Yes.
Like recently, they had a showing in my local movie theater. I had to go see that in theaters. I almost man, that was just a crazy moment. It was a surreal scene on a big screen for the first time.
Yeah. Oh, I'd imagine. It's great to hear. See, I always love hearing from somebody like you because Nerf Herder and I last week were talking about because we're a little bit older and growing up on the original stuff, and then you grew up with the prequel trilogy, and that's what we kind of talked about. It's like so many people, a lot of it from maybe our age group are like, the prequels were terrible, they're garbage, but George Lucas himself came out and said they're not made for you, really. They're not made for guys like our age. They're made for a different generation. They were for the people that were growing up at that point in time. And people have to understand that. It's like, you may not like it exactly because, it's not like the originals. It's not like, but they were made in the 70s. It was like, so they're going to be completely different. But yeah, and he said the same thing. And I love all of them. I don't care which one it was, which ones they were. I like them all, and I could watch them over and over and over. Every time I have YouTube TV, every time they're on there, I throw them on. And most of them, to be honest with you, like most of them, I could recite line for line. I've seen them so many times that, the original 3, as soon as somebody says something, I'm saying the next line that comes out of their mouth. It's like, it's
the original trilogy, or excuse me, the prequel trilogy was so good. But then, obviously I watch them all back, and I watch them all the time. Like you said, whenever they're on television, I always click. I have to, maybe except if it's The Last Jedi, maybe not. But other than that, I usually click every single one of them. But I will say that maybe this is controversial, but Darth Vader versus Luke, that lightsaber battle, in my opinion, is better than Anakin versus Obi-Wan.
Wow. Okay.
And so I know, like, choreography, like movie wise, of course, it's like looks better. It's so much more fluid and like all that. But you watch the first original 3 movies and the immense buildup. And like I get chills about it right now. If we talk about it, you know what I mean? It's just like the immense buildup, all 3 movies accumulating up to that very moment right there. I mean, and the music is amazing too. I love that fight, that battle so much.
Yeah, it's so like we were sitting there, my friend and I. Oh my gosh, Empire came out in 82, so I was 13 when I saw that. And we're sitting in the movie theater, and when Darth Vader told Luke that he was his father, the look on her and my face, we're sitting there like, what? Oh my God, no it's like, and we're oh my God. Yeah, dude. It was, but I totally get that. And I understand why you would say that, because again, you got to remember, that lightsaber battle was again made in the 80s, 1982, 1983, in and around that time. Now they can have a battle like him and Obi-Wan had that can go for 15, 20 minutes because it's almost all special effects. And so they can do that now. Whereas back then, there's no way. They wouldn't have had enough money to even try to attempt to do that, let alone doing it. But yeah, and I think that's what makes it so cool. And even the newer ones, like the new ones that came out, I know a lot of people trash those. Oh, the first one was a ripoff of the original one, and
I did like the first one.
I loved the first one, dude. Yeah. Loved it. The second one, not so much. Last Jedi was just stupid. I don't know what Rian Johnson was thinking when he did some of that movie, like especially after the end of the first one, like when she walks up that mountain at the very end of that. And she hands that lightsaber. Luke's standing there. That was one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen. And they're playing that music at the end, and I'm like, and then we're thinking like, this is where it ends. I have to wait 3 years now to see what happens. And then it starts off in the next one, and she gives him the thing, and he chucks it over. Yeah, I'm like, come on, man. What? That was the stupidest ending. I was like, and it was, even Mark Hamill hated it. Like Mark Hamill even said he couldn't stand the way that he had him portray that character.
Yeah.
So
it's a weird transition from episode 6 to episode to the next. It's just weird.
Yeah, it really was. J.J. Abrams should have just done all 3 of them and just not had different directors. But yeah, it was what it was. Are you watching the stuff on Disney Plus? Are you watching the series and stuff like that?
I haven't watched the actual shows in a long time, actually. It's been like a little busy, and I don't know. I just haven't been watching it for some reason. I have to catch up. I know I do. And same thing with like Loki and all the Marvel ones. Like, I gotta catch up. I'm slacking.
There's so many. There's so many now.
It's ridiculous.
I think they went a little overboard. I'm kind of glad they're scaling back. Marvel said they're going to start scaling back to where they do 1 or 2 movies maybe, and the series they're not going to do like just one character centric anymore. They're going to make them like they're doing Daredevil now, which Daredevil's going to have Punisher, Daredevil, Kingpin, all of the characters.
It looks great. You see his new suit?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, dude,
good.
It's badass. I'm excited for that, because they're also saying now that Tom Holland might be in that. So they may have Spider-Man in that at ground level now with all of them, which is he's been. I mean, you go in the Spider-Man comics, Daredevil's been in Spider-Man comics for years.
Yeah.
So that's going to be awesome. So I think it's smart of them to do that. It's just too much. Like you're saying, it's too much to watch. But I would tell you, if you get a chance, watch the Ahsoka series, the one that just came out a little bit ago. And the reason I tell you to watch it is because when the original series finished, there was nothing movie-wise for us after that. It took until the prequels came out.
Yeah.
But there was a book series that came out called Heir to the Empire, which is fantastic. Timothy Zahn wrote it. It was a three-book trilogy that he did, and it was all about Thrawn. And that's where that's coming from. And I think that's where they're going with that Ahsoka series. And now in his books, they use the original characters. So they had Han and Luke and Leia and all that stuff. Obviously, they can't do that now.
Yeah.
But I think what they're doing is I think they're going to use the character, the Ahsoka character, and I think they're going to use the characters from Star Wars Rebels, the animated series. And
I have seen parts of Rebels.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's a great watch. But I think that's what they're going to do. I think he's going to basically do that with the characters from Mandalorian, this characters from Ahsoka, and bring them all together. And I think they're going to do that book series, which would be amazing. And he's doing a movie, and so I think that's what the movie's going to be. So,
yeah, that sounds excellent. Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome.
I'll always see a Star Wars movie. You will always get me to buy a ticket, 100%.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, there you go. I love this. I absolutely love it. I found out he's a wrestling fan too. That's fantastic. For those of you who don't know, and I think I've told a lot of you already, but I have a wrestling podcast, that I started 4 years ago. That I do on a weekly basis. And he and I were talking before the show started that he's a wrestling fan and he's a Cody Rhodes fan, which again, I know this isn't a wrestling podcast, but Cody Rhodes is like on top of the world right now.
Finish the story.
I was saying, man, every time I hear that damn theme song, man, I get chills. Every time I hear it. When did you start watching wrestling, dude? I have to ask. I just took my youngest to her first ever wrestling show. They had a show up here in the arena by me. And she absolutely, I remember her walking out and I said, well, what'd you think? And she goes, I kind of think I'm going to start watching this now because Seth Rollins is kind of hot. And I'm like,
that's great.
So when did you start watching wrestling, dude?
So just like my Marvel Snap, like beginning of that whole thing, it was just like by chance, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
I think I was like 11, maybe like 10 or 11 years old, just about. I was clicking through the channels and I saw it was either SmackDown or Raw. I can't remember which one. I click it and I saw Dwayne, the Rock Johnson on the screen. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Because I knew him from a couple, like the Tooth Fairy and a couple of his earlier movies. And so I started watching it, and then like it was not the beginning. It was right. I think it was a little bit after. I think it was WrestleMania 28, which was that John Cena versus The Rock in 28?
Could have been, yeah.
Okay, so I started watching after 27. I started watching after 27. And so I caught the whole entire Rock John Cena thing. Well, I think I missed it before, but that was awesome.
Tremendous.
And then I started watching. Then I was hooked, man. I got so hooked so fast. And then that whole thing happened. Brock Lesnar came back to the ring. I saw that Raw live on television when his music just played and he walked out. That was so awesome. I saw the whole CM Punk reign. That was their Money in the Bank match.
Wow.
Unlike no other. And that's when I started. And then I've been to a couple shows. I went to an Extreme Rules in 2019. That was really cool. I saw The Undertaker. I saw Shane McMahon wrestle. That was really cool.
Dude.
So 2011, a little bit. I'm super passionate about it. I love it so much.
That's awesome. It's so great. When I was a kid, oh my gosh, the wrestlers back in like the 70s and 80s, they used to go around and wrestle in very small gyms. Like I'm talking high school gymnasiums and stuff like that.
Like NWA or something like that?
Yeah. Well, down south, it was NWA. I couldn't get that up here because I was always up in the north, but it was WWF back then. But I literally ended up my dad took me to a show. I was probably about 9 or 10. I met Andre the Giant.
Oh, that's awesome.
Literally, he walks past me after a show, coming out, and he literally sticks his big hand like on the top of my head, and he goes, "You're a good boy." And he put his hand. I'm like, I will never forget. And then I'm looking up at him. Yep, I'm looking at my dad. I'm like, Dad, do you have a pen? Can I get his auto? And my dad's like, no, I don't have a pen. I'm like, you need to find a pen. Like, go.
What an amazing memory. That's insane.
Oh my God. It was so cool. And from then, he had taken me to a few shows. I got to see a show in Philadelphia at the Spectrum back in the day. And
you ever see Hogan?
I did not see. So when I went to the show, that was before Hogan, because it was when Bob Backlund happened to be the champion back then. So Bob Backlund was wrestling. I got to see The Rock's ancestors. I got to see the Wild Samoans wrestle
really cool.
back then. So yeah, it was a lot of some older folk. I never got to see Hogan live, but I mean, growing up with Hulkamania, it was like when that whole thing started and he beat the Iron Sheik. You're just like, yeah, that was. I tell everybody still. And I know Hogan's done some stupid things over his career, and sports, especially recently. I think some of the things he said. But when I hear his song, that I Am a Real American, I still get chills. I still, to this day, when they play that song, I still get chills. It's insane, man.
He had to be like an absolute like super mega celebrity back then. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was so popular. He had his own cartoon, man. He had a Saturday morning cartoon. It was he was everywhere. But yeah, man, I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's such a great form of entertainment. My wife laughs about it. She says that's a male soap opera. I'm like, essentially, basically, it is.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, it's essentially a good way to describe it. Yeah,
like a stuntman soap opera, like crossover or something like that.
Then when I met my co-host for the wrestling show, and he kind of filled me in on a lot of the backstory and tells me about like the things they do and that the stuff they have to train on. He's like, man, he's like the first day of his training. He went into the gym and they make you take bumps. So taking bumps, that's what they call when basically you get thrown onto the mat.
Yeah.
And he said, you get done with about 7-8 hours of that, and you want to do nothing but lay in a tub filled with ice because you are so sore. People don't understand when they watch that's not cushioned. It's literally a plank floor under very, very thin mats. There's no cushioning there.
Yeah, it's very, very thin mats. And you have like the middle bars underneath for a little bit of flex, so you do have a little bit of a softer landing. But you're taking a superplex off the top rope. I don't care who you are. I'm not going to do that. I'm okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's crazy. And that's why you really have to admire a lot of them. People say, well, they're acting and stuff. They are, but they're still falling and they're still, all that stuff, very, very dangerous. And so yeah, you have to admire them.
Yeah, I hate when people say it's fake. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, scripted, totally. There's a difference between scripted and fake, though. You talk about jumping off like a 25-foot Hell in a Cell. Mankind gets thrown off, and you can't.
Oh God! When his tooth came out the side of his face, I'm like,
then they put him on a stretcher. He got wheeled up. He's like, no, I'm coming back. Went back in, went through the Hell in a Cell. I mean, come on, get out of here.
Classic match, man. That was an absolute classic. I always gravitated towards certain characters. I'm a big horror fan too. I watch a lot of horror films, and I gravitated toward like Undertaker, of course, a lot. I remember when he first came out, and I was like, who is that?
Egg, right? Or something like that. My God. Hyping it up with the chicken egg.
Oh man. More recently, I was a big fan of Bray Wyatt, of course, and he passed away. It was so tragic that he passed away, but yeah, I was a big fan of his.
I was at an Eagles game when I saw the tweet on Twitter. It was so sad. It was so sad.
Yeah. Oh, he was so young. It was we knew he got COVID. We had heard that, and it was like he just never got better from it. And it's like, oh my gosh, when I heard about it, it's so tragic. And he has really young children, and it's like, was horrible. But yeah, it's cool to hear that, man. I'm glad to hear you enjoy that stuff. That's awesome. I absolutely love it. So look at that. We got a lot in common here. So that's awesome. So we're gonna talk some Snap, and I figured let's start with this. I want to talk to you about the meta game first off, because as we were talking before the show, this ends up being a big controversial thing all the time, no matter what meta it is or how things switch up and stuff like that. But now out there, we have the whole thing with the controversial stuff about Hela, and Hela being as prominent as it is, Lockjaw, especially also because of Hela and also because of Thanos. Zabu, I guess you could throw in the mix too, because of how often he's played. So tell me what you think about the meta that's out there right now in Snap. I mean, are you enjoying the meta? Do you think that some of these cards really should be looked at? Obviously, we have an OTA, I think, coming out this week, I think it's the 29th, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it's just about that. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so I mean, we could see something, some changes. I mean, it wouldn't be complete card changes, but we could see something happen. So I mean, what do you think about the meta? Do you think it's oppressive, or are you good with it? Are you finding it not that bad?
Well, so right now I'm thinking about sitting around 3,000 on ladder. Okay. So I've been playing like a pretty good amount this season. I've really been grinding. And in ladder, there's a lot of Hela, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So much Hela everywhere. And so I got to think to myself here, why did Hela become popular? When it's obviously the spike in Hela came when Corvus Glaive came out.
Yes.
And so you have to look at that card. The only thing it did was make Hela more consistent.
Yeah, it did.
You know what I mean? And so people were trying to squeeze it into ramp decks and everything like that, but obviously it's found a shell in a normal discard Lockjaw type Hela deck. And it's really, really strong. And so it wasn't consistent before, but now it's super consistent now. And now we're seeing like the true potential of that deck. The fact that like you almost see it every single game, and people have resorted to like making decks like to counter a Hela. That's where it just gets a little annoying, right? I've been running Sarah Control. I think I have just about like, I think I want to say like 200, 300 games on it roughly this season, roughly. Yep. And I've been having a blast with that, absolute blast with that. But once this Hela started running about, I mean, I can't keep up with that. It's very, very difficult to keep up with that.
It is.
Because of just how much immense power that it drops, right? And so that's like the number one deck. And then you have the Thanos Lockjaw. Yeah. Which I definitely think is a lot more manageable, a lot more easier to read, because the element of RNG is still there, of course, with Lockjaw, but nowhere near as significant as Hela. And so I really don't find that as bad. I use that still occasionally, and it's super. I've been having a lot of success with it with Sarah Control, because it's very, very easy to get that blob back down to 0 with Shadow King, Shang-Chi, a lot of those cards, because if everything goes right, you have a 2-cost Enchantress or 2-cost Shang-Chi, and then all your Shadow King's 1 cost, the whole entire thing. So you can do a lot with the Sarah Control against that deck. So I don't have any really big gripes with that one. Not at all. But it's just a Hela. What do? Do they touch it next OTA?
That's what I said. I heard on a couple other podcasts that were talking about it. Like, what do you do with the card? It's so difficult to figure that out. And that's why people are saying, well, maybe Lockjaw, because Lockjaw's involved with almost all of these decks in one way or another. Hela doesn't always have Lockjaw, but it is in some of them. But yeah, it's a great question. I don't know at this point what you do with it, because I mean, obviously nothing with her stats are going to help it. Nothing, taking her power, her ability. The ability has to be changed. But then when you look at that, it's like, well, what do? You say, okay, well, you only bring back a certain amount of cards. It only brings back your last like one. But even if you do that, then the card's dead. I mean, then people aren't going to play it. So I don't know. I mean, what would you, if you had to change Hela, what would you do? What would you change how would you change the card?
Well, it's just super difficult to say, because like obviously, like I said, Corvus is what made her shine so bright.
Yes.
And so you really can't mess with Corvus. He just came out. Right. The ability is so unique. You can't change that. So you look at Hela. I took a couple notes because I thought you were going to ask me a question like this. What if, okay, hear me out. Yeah. What if it brings cards back from left to right?
Okay, so location control, okay.
So like you put the Hela in the right lane. You discarded 4 cards. If you have 2 open spots on the left, it fills those 2. You have 1 open spot in the middle. It fills that 1, and then the last card, because that's the 4th card, goes to the right. At that point, that was just off the top of my dome. You know what I mean? At that point, it's easier for the opponent to recognize what can happen, which I think is better, and it's also better. It's better. It's not necessarily better for the user, but it does add an element of like predictability of where things are going to go. It can still be a random order of which cards are going to spawn back, but I think just a certain element of control in her ability would make her a lot more better to play against, I guess you could say. Do I really know what the element could be? I mean, that was one idea. A certain amount of cards, I don't know if I like that too much. I feel like that really nerfs the overall like Hela discard.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't know. I would sit here for literally 25 minutes trying to jot something up. That's all I could think of. I don't know. How do you change? I don't know. Just everyone use Cosmo? Or I don't know.
I mean, people have gotten to the point where they're using Absorbing Man Shang-Chi, which is insane. They're playing Absorbing, and you have to play another one in your deck in order to control it. I mean, I like your idea, because then at least you're the opponent. You can plan for that, because you know where they're going to go. So then, okay, if he plays the Hela, it's going to go left to right or wherever the case might be. You're at least going to be able to plan a little better for it. It's really crazy to me that we're talking about, in this meta, that we're talking about Hela the way she is.
Right?
It's crazy to me, because Hela never amounted to. And remember back in the day when they play with Blade, and almost every single game, Blade's discarding Hela. Every single game, and then you're done. And I tried it back then, and it's like I could never get her. And when I would get her, I either couldn't play her or she'd get discarded one way or the other, and I would never be able to use her anyway. Yeah. So but it's crazy to think that's the way the meta's gone. It's really, you saw the progression, I think, from Thanos Blob and now to Hela, but it's all similar stuff because it's just all gigantic cards. And so it kind of progressed a little bit differently, but it's still they're probably still the two top decks in the game are probably Hela and Thanos.
There was a little brief period for it might have been even a week or maybe even a couple days where I think it was like a little bit, maybe a week after Beta Ray Bill came out, and people were experimenting, and there was a whole bunch of Hitmonkey running around. King Pride was doing some stuff. That was an excellent time, and you see, and you can tell the state of Snap 110% just through Twitter. All you need to do is just go on Twitter.
Yep.
And you can just tell. So like that week where the meta was all random and cool stuff, people were loving it. It was the best game of the world. But then like right now, obviously, no one's too hot. At least what it seems like on Twitter about it. You know what I mean? I have to say, any meta where like Hela is number one, I feel like isn't the strongest types of meta. Yeah. You know, because at that point, I don't really use Hela myself. I'm not a fan. I really am not a fan of the RNG element.
No, I'm not either.
You know, because it really could absolutely just mess you up. And you snap for an AQ, you have the whole play, but they all spawn in one location or something like that, right? I like more of like the control type decks, like literally Sarah control or like lockdown, which is good. But yeah, I don't know, Hela, interesting. Super interesting.
Yeah, it's really crazy when you bring that up. I mean, I'm starting to see, and I watch a lot of content creators just like everyone else does. I like to watch some of them because they make me laugh when they do their stuff on the shows. But I just watch to get ideas about decks and stuff like that. But sometimes, especially recently, now you're starting to see some of them. They're getting a little upset, like a little irritated. They don't show it because they're really good about it. You don't want to show it on stream to your viewers that you're upset.
100%.
Sometimes it's hard, and then when you see them starting to get irritated with the meta, and that's this meta's stale, and this Lockjaw stuff and this Hela stuff, and when you start to see that, you're like, okay, it probably is getting a little out of hand, so I don't know what's going to happen. Now, I think I told you earlier when we were talking before, I'm playing an Annihilus Darkhawk deck basically to try to counter it a little bit. And it is. Yeah, it's been really good. And that's something that can work against those decks because you're throwing stones and the Black Widow's bite in there, and you're delaying that hand draw. So if you're gumming up the works there and they can't get the cards they need, they're just going to lose.
I saw on Turobang on Twitter. He got his I think his 7th Infinity ticket. Was it last night? I think it was last night or something like that. It was like no Hela. It was a no Hela deck. He was a Mystique Pro X with Valkyrie. And so if you can lock down locations and then you can reset everything to 3 power with a Blue Marvel or something like that. I mean, that's an easy way to counter Hela, but it's still just weird that you have to do that. Run something like that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you want to know the funniest part is. Now I do every single weekend I play decks with Agatha, and it became a meme thing. I just started doing it, and I'm like, you know what? This actually works. I can literally throw mission cards in this dumb deck, and I could end up winning and doing all my missions for the weekend with this deck, and it's worked pretty well. But all of a sudden now, I start going and I'm playing the other day, and all of a sudden I'm seeing Agatha, and I'm like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, I saw that.
They came out with an Agatha deck for Hela, and I'm like, oh dear Lord.
Yeah, with Corvus.
I was just like, are you
going on?
I couldn't believe it. And I saw, and I want to say, I saw Cozy made a video for it. And I'm like, oh no, because he's one of the most giant creators that are out there. The minute people see him playing with decks, instantly they're going to net deck it. Yeah, because it's because you just know he's good at what he does, and then all of a sudden now Agatha's running rampant. So I put on my channel I'm like, I cannot be held responsible for the Agatha play. I know I've been doing that, but I didn't come up with anything like this.
The king of Agatha.
But when you see a deck that's getting played that people aren't even playing, they're sitting there and just letting it auto play with Agatha, and it's winning because it's that good. Yeah, I don't know. You might have to look into that a little bit.
Yeah, check it out, dude.
Oh man, I love it. I got to talk about. I saw one of your videos, man. I got to talk about Galactus. I am a Galactus enjoyer from.
Your splits are insane.
Yeah, it says from day one, man. I told people this story. I pulled him out of a cache when they first released the big bats.
Yeah.
So I got him very early on. Like, I wanted Thanos. And then I remember I was getting ready for work, and I remember I'm like, I'm going to go on. And I opened one of those caches, and all of a sudden pops out Galactus. I'm like, that's really, and so I look at the card and I'm like, this is stupid. Why would anyone want to do this? Why would I want to blow up the other locations in the game? Well, little did I know. Had I known that would have combined with like the things that it did back then, that whole spider. Oh my God. Had I known that right then and there, I would have probably hit infinite several times over by that point, because hardly anybody had the card. So it was like, I had no idea. And I didn't even touch the card until I started to see some other people started to play it. And then I'm like, oh yeah, Spider-Man locks down that lane and you can't go anywhere. But I love the character from the comics. I always have. I was very, very disappointed when they had that Fantastic Four film that he was supposed to be in and ended up being a big stupid cloud. I was so mad. Yeah, so mad. I have to look back at it though, thinking now it was in the 90s, and they probably just couldn't do the special effects that they needed to do for him back then. I could imagine it probably would have been very difficult to do. But either way, I was upset about it. But I've been a fan of him, read him in the comics years and years ago, and so I just enjoyed playing him. And then I saw he's getting nerfed. Everybody's bitching about it, complaining about it online. They're like, no, this is oppressive. You can't do this. This is horrible. And then he takes a nerf, and I'm like, all right. The first nerf wasn't so bad. I worked my way around it. Mm-hmm. And then the recent one, it's like, oh my God, dude, literally he could be stopped now by a 2/5 lizard. I'm like, come on.
Exactly, right?
It's like, come on, man. But he's finding his way back into some decks, and actually he's found his way into a Nihilus. And people that are playing that Nihilus lockdown, they're sending over the Sentry, and of course they're sending the Void over. The Hobgoblins are getting played. Selene's being used, and then next thing you're throwing them on a lane when they have -15 or whatever, and you're winning a game.
They don't retreat, but they don't retreat, which is the craziest thing about it.
It is crazy. Yeah, because you would think you think it's got to be coming, even if it's a Sentry based thing, or it's it's that type of a deck. You got to think they're loading up that one lane. They're doing it for whatever reason.
When Nihilus came out, it was like strictly in junk, just straight as much junk as possible with debris and man thing. It was like complete toxicity. But then you see how junk like evolves and everything. And now you have a big old bad Galactus in there with like a Shang-Chi and a Goliath. And the Ravonna getting released, that helped that so much at archetype. Being able to throw down that Green Gob on 2 or 3 whenever, because you play the Ravonna on 2. And then you can throw out the Green Gob or the Hobgoblin early, and you can send over whatever you want. The Void. I mean, it really, really excelled the deck and significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. You play that Selene and you hit that green or Hobgoblin with Selene, and you have a -11 on that Hobgoblin. That's like devastating play. If you get that out when then you have Ravonna, you could throw that on turn 4. They have a -11 in the lane. It's pretty much game over. If you've got Galactus in your hand.
Oh yeah, I run Psylocke in my list, and I try to ramp him out a little bit early if I can, if everything went right. And then it's just like, you would be so surprised about how many people will throw the Galactus down. They have like a negative, like whatever, like say -3 Hobgoblin, or a Green Goblin, so they'll play it. But like, you have to know, like, okay, Goliath is in the chamber, ready to go. I mean, it blows my mind sometimes.
When Goliath was first announced, I was pretty excited with Galactus. I'm like, oh, that's going to pair up with him. So I'm like, here we go. We got Spider-Man all over again. All you got to do is get priority.
Mental. That whole when Goliath first came out, that was one of the craziest times for a Marvel Snap player.
Yeah, dude. Because like you're playing for priority. That's all you needed to do. And it was like, absolutely, man. But I love it. It's great when I see you were talking about Interrobang. I've been bugging him to try to come on the show, because him and I we talked for a long time too. Because he was like, he's always like, I'm a big herald of Galactus, man. I'm a herald of Galactus. And I remember I posted all my Galactus variants one time. He saw them all, and he's like, I am not even close to where you're at with your Galactus cards. He goes, I'm bowing down to the higher herald of, and I'm like, yeah, dude, we're all, it's all good. I said, we're all heralds of Galactus. Like,
that'd be a great episode. Two G-Man lovers, right?
Yes, I have to get him on. He keeps trying. I know he's real busy, and a lot of content creators are. I get it. A lot of them are game streaming daily and stuff like that, so it's hard. But yeah, man, it was fun. But yeah, is there any? So tell me, in the game itself. Now I said I know you play Sarah Control. You like the lockdown. Give me some of your favorite cards. Tell me what some of your favorite cards are in Snap.
Oh man, that's a good question. I've been having a blast. Well, okay, Miss Marvel.
Yep.
I will love that card forever.
Oh yeah,
I think
it's a
it's
great
so
card.
amazing. I mean,
Yep.
when she first came out, that was like I used that card. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I played that card. I mean, crazy amount, crazy amount.
Great card.
She's insane. I love her so much.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of Shang-Chi, just not a fan of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the importance of him in the actual game itself, totally understand. Just
Yep.
not a fan. Just not a fan. I love the whole entire Darkhawk package. I'm a huge fan. Korg Rockside Black Widow. Sign me up all day.
Yep.
What else do I love? Annihilus is always a great time, and I did just unlock the Galactus from the spotlight. That was what, last week or 2 weeks ago. I did just get him.
Cover one.
No, I got the base one.
That's right. You would get that. That's right. I can't forget about that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's been such a good time. And what else have I been using? Sarah Control. Sarah's been one of my all-time favorite cards.
Sarah's a great card.
I use Sarah like when I first came back to the game. I used Surfer, and then when Sebastian Shaw came out, oh my god, I was so excited. I was so hyped. Yeah, I love Sarah so much. I mean, I probably have the most plays on Sarah. Anything cost reduction wise, your Zabu, and there's some cards coming out in March that are going to be really cool.
We're gonna talk about those in a little bit. Yeah, there are.
Yeah, those are some of my favorite cards. Probably honestly, Miss Marvel. Ever since she came out, she's been every single one on my list. An absolute staple in all my decks. She's great.
Yeah, well, I could see that. If you're a fan of like Lockdown, she almost has to be in there. You know, you play Storm. Yeah, you know, you have even Professor X and stuff still in the deck, even after the nerfs and everything like that. Yeah, you have to play Miss Marvel. So yeah, I like Lockdown to an extent as well. I know people. There's another card that people are getting upset with Professor. Oh, Professor X is too oppressive. You can't play it. He shuts it. It's like, come on, man.
When Miss Marvel first came out, and then you could throw the Pro X on left.
Yes.
For it'd be 5'8". I mean, that was a little crazy. That was a little insane. Yeah, I mean, at this point, like Zabu is just so strong. Well, it's Zabu itself is strong, but the 4-cost slot. That is a super strong area of the game. Your Shang-Chi, your Miss Marvel, and a whole bunch of like big static cards, your Tuma, Cole Obsidian. So many good 4-drops in this game. And so you look at Zabu, he's so strong.
It is.
It makes being able to, especially in that Sarah controls, I keep talking about it. It's so much fun. Being able to throw down the Zabu on 2, and then you have your Sarah, and then a 4-cost is a 2-cost. You can throw down 3 4-cost on turn 2. It's immaculate.
Yep. Yeah, that's another card that I'm wondering too if Zabu isn't far from getting some sort of nerf too, because it's like you're right. There are so many 4-cost cards in the game that are really good cards, and you get them lowered down where you can play those easier. So Zabu might be another one they might end up taking a look at too, because it really is. It's a great card, and it has been since it came out.
Yeah, well, when it came out, it wasn't.
Oh, it was it was even worse. Yeah,
like you can make a list, and I think I forget who posted this on Twitter, but you can take a list and just have Zabu, Miss Marvel, and Shang-Chi, and you can just build around those 3 cards, and the win percentage with just those 3 cards alone, it's like the holy trinity of like Marvel Snap. I mean, those 3 cards together are just so fantastic. With 415. In the Miss Marvel, you have the Zabu, all those 4 costs down, and then Shang-Chi can be a 4/3 plus whatever he destroys.
Yeah,
which is just so good. It's just so good. Those 3 cards together are amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. All right, so we have 1 card left in this season, and I want to get your thoughts. Obviously, we'll talk about Proxima Midnight. She comes out tomorrow, but let me know what have you thought about the Black Order season so far. I mean, obviously, we had Corvus Glaive last week. We had Cull. The week before, Black Swan the week before that, and then we got Proxima now this week as well. I love the lore of these guys. I'm a big Thanos fan. Infinity Gauntlet's one of my favorite comics I've ever read. Much different from the films. These guys get a lot more spotlight in that. In fact, in the MCU, they're kind of weak. A lot of them kind of just died very early on.
Did Ebony Maw get like tossed off the ship or something like that?
Ebony Maw got tossed into space and froze to death. Cole got his arm hacked off by a shield or by one of Doctor Strange's portals. And then he got sent up into the Wakanda shield and died. Proxima got run over by the big giant lawnmower thing from the aliens that was on the so she just got run over and smeared. Like they all just died in really easy ways. But yeah, I mean, I like the lore behind them. But I mean, what have you thought of this season so far? Black Swan to me, okay, I guess. For a season pass card, it's good. It's definitely not it's definitely not that strong. Like we've been got, Loki and the other ones we've gotten have been game breaking. She's definitely not that. She works good in what she does. And then Cole, I think is a pretty strong card, especially for a lot of these decks we're seeing these big boys in now. And then obviously Corvus, I told some people I think they may have underestimated Corvus a little bit. And we're seeing that, like you mentioned, with the Hela deck being as strong as it is there. But yeah, let me know what you think of Black Order so far, and what do you think about Proxima that comes out tomorrow?
Well, I don't really play discard.
I don't
at all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I just don't really play, not one of my archetypes. And so this season for me, obviously, a little lackluster, right?
Yeah.
The best card in my opinion being Cold Obsidian. Super. You can plug him into a lot of lists, almost any list. He slid right into Thanos Lockjaw. And there was even some versions of I did a video on Sarah Cultural. I slid him into there with a couple one cost cards. So he's very, very super flexible. My favorite card from the season. Again, for me, a little lackluster, but I know, like, shout out to Gaming with Flash. Huge discard guy, huge. He's excited for Proxima Midnight, just like how any discard player would be. It's a free 7. When you ever going to complain about a free 7? You never will. You never will. I'm going to skip. Obviously, I'm going to skip. She, I compare it to a Sebastian Shaw.
Yes.
Really. 5-star in her archetype. And she'll settle whether it's like a Hela archetype or like a APOC, like MODOK type discard. She'll find it, whatever it is. I was also thinking maybe, like, I know my brain always gravitates toward this. You could throw in the lockdown-ish type discard with APOC, throw down a Storm in there, and then maybe she could dump it. Something like that. It just was brewing.
Okay.
But yeah, like I said, 5 out of 5 stars, 100% in that realm, in that small little bubble. But when it comes to the overall actual game of Marvel Snap, where else is Proxima Midnight going to fit? A C7? No, probably not, right?
Yeah,
so it's just like I don't really know where else you'd put her. Like I said, I'm not too hot. But yeah, discard lovers, let's go, baby. It just doesn't fit any other archetype. There's just nowhere else. Very niche, very niche.
Yeah, I would agree. And even the cards that are with her this week, I think, who is it? It's MODOK and Dakin.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it is kind of a skippable week all in all, if you're really not into that, because it is all discard based, and it's not not necessarily Hella discard, but it's kind of just like discard really. So if you're not into that kind of thing, now I know I've seen Drew Barry. Drew Barry does an amazing job with going over all these cards on his videos, and I've seen him do the video for her. And I know some people are talking about maybe playing her with Collector, so Collector discard, which would kind of make a lot of sense. She does have some good things about her. Number one, she can get into locked locations, or locations that normally you can't get into.
St. Emporium.
Yep, absolutely. The other thing is she is unshangable. You're not going to change here or get rid of her. And 7's a pretty hefty stat to be on the board. So yeah, for folks that play that, they have the Swarms, they have the Morbius, they have the Apocalypse, they have that, that whole thing. And then, put Collector in there, or I don't know, maybe use Wolverine, maybe X-23 if you want to in there as well. And yeah, you probably could have a pretty good little deck, but you always have to go back to, are they going to beat Hela? Because that's the thing. They're good on their own. They can get some decent power, of course, with keep on hitting the Apocalypse. The Morbius can build up really well, but are you going to beat the meta? And that's not the be all and end all for everybody. People are just going to play to have fun with whatever they like to do sometimes, and a lot of people they're not out to do that necessarily. But yeah, I would agree. I think if I had to rate this card, I'd probably say, but probably between 2 and 3 stars, maybe, in and around there. And like you were saying, probably good for what she does.
I was thinking about it, and like, do you really want to slot out something in Hela discard for Proxima Midnight? Because like a lot of those cards in there are, you have your Magneto and your Infinite, all those massive cards, and there's a little bit of wiggle room in Hela discard, of course. We saw Corvus slide right into that role, no problem. But like, do you really take out anyone for Proxima in the Hela aspect? But for traditional discard, like your APOC, MODOK, Morbius, I think Proxima is a no-brainer, because you're going to you want to MODOK anyway. So like with the dock, and if you want to run like traditional discard with APOC, dock, and MODOK, Proxima Midnight, I'd rip open every single one of your keys if that's what you want to run, because it's going to. I think that's where she's going to slide in perfectly.
Yeah, I would agree, for sure. And I'm sure we're going to see that. I actually just ran into. I was playing. I was playing Conquest, actually. I was playing Gold Conquest, and I ran into a traditional discard deck. And they still work pretty well if they go off the way they're supposed to. And like you were saying, to your point, they're very on curve decks. So they like to have one certain play here, certain play here, certain play here. And you're right. She's going to fit into a 4 slot in those decks, no doubt. So, yeah, I don't know. But overall, to your point as well about the season, I would kind of agree. I would think it's, probably a pretty average season overall. You had some decent cards that were maybe 3 stars, 4 stars, maybe, I guess you can maybe say with Cull, but then some that weren't so great and not seeing so much play. Super Giant is a weird card, man.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Yeah, it really is. It's like a really weird tech card. I even thought to myself, because I'm always thinking about Galactus, and I'm thinking, I wonder if I throw her in there. They can't do anything on turn 5, and then I just end up being able to Galactus them on turn 6. But it's not going to work out because they'll have their cards flipped over, and they could have something big on that lane and beat you anyway.
Exactly.
So it's like
or something.
yeah, like something. Yeah. So it's like, but yeah, it's such a weird card. I don't know if they might touch that one up somewhere down the road, make it maybe a point less to get out instead of being a 4/5? Yeah. Instead of being a 4 or 5, maybe make it a 3/5. I don't know.
It's definitely the most interesting card to be released this season.
It is.
The rest of them are very straightforward. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They know exactly what they do. This one, Super Giant, I will say maybe it might take a little while, maybe in a couple months, but maybe she will find like a home, like a good list to run her with. I've seen a lot of people run that whole Tuma Super Giant, which has been a little bit. I think Nina is new. I think she covered that. It's been a pretty successful deck.
Yeah. Alex Kocha made an interesting deck with, and he was hiding cards. So it was using Super Giant and using Invisible Woman, and he was just hiding things up until the end of the game. So he's sticking down like a Tuma and I didn't know this, a Tuma, if he reveals at the very end of the game, doesn't explode.
Exactly. Yep.
So I'm like, and I had no idea. So, and I played it a few times, like, well, this is actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
You're throwing down cards like Maximus, and where you're not taking any of the, you're not giving them cards with it because you're throwing them, you're hiding them behind these other cards.
Your opponent has no idea what's coming. Like, absolutely no idea.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's pretty smart, actually. I think you might be right. There's some cards almost a little bit like Grandmaster, I think, too, because Grandmaster everybody was so excited for that card.
So hyped for Grandmaster.
Oh my God. It's like, this is going to be the best card in Snap and ever. And then when it didn't pan out, but that's one of those cards, though, honestly. I talk about some cards like that make my brain hurt. And that's one of those brain hurting cards because it's one of those things that you've got to play all around in that game in order to get that to work exactly the way you want it. So that could be what what Proxima's, not Proxima, who are we talking about?
Super Giant.
Black Super Giant, yeah. That's where I think Super Giant could end up, along with Grandmaster, somewhere down the road. Somebody's going to probably find something that's going to break that with another card maybe that's coming out on the horizon. But yeah, I agree with you.
I've been having when the what was his name? Grandmaster. When he first came out, I mean, I was with everybody else. I was just seriously trying to find the most absurd broken combos. I was trying to do like a Black Panther into the Grandmaster on top of Black Panther into Artem Zola, like something like that to do like a bunch of something crazy. But then like I sat there, I was like, all right, well, like, okay, this is totally isn't working. I couldn't get footage. I was like, oh my, I was starting to tilt and everything. So I was like, all right, let's just go back to like kind of like old reliable. So I threw in a Darkhawk list.
Yep.
Just straight Darkhawk with a couple tech cards with the Grandmaster. And so like some of those cards are so hyped up, but they play like a pretty pivotal role because pumping 2 rocks into your opponent rock slide and then Grandmastering on top of that is an extra 4 points for Darkhawk, which is pretty massive. And then you start to see things evolve, and then you see the Darkhawk package, and then you see a Darkhawk and Ronin package with Grandmaster. And so you throw down your Master mold, you Grandmaster your Master mold, they got 4 Sentinels in the hand they can't get rid of. You know what I mean? So it's a big Ronin. It's a very big Ronin. I love that card. I'm having such a blast with Grandmaster.
Ronin? Yeah, Grandmaster, are you? Yeah, I can see it being cool. I mean, I saw some people use it a lot with the Wong lists. Like you were talking about with Wong and with Black Panther and stuff like that. And I can see that. I could see that being the case. But yeah, Super Giant, I think, might come into her own at some point. Somebody might find something that's going to end up working well with her down the road.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, that's this season. And of course it ends tomorrow. Obviously, if you're going to go out there and look for the card and stuff like that, again, like Zal said, make sure that you're going to want to put this in a deck that you think you're going to run it in. Obviously, other than that, if you have MODOK, and you have docking, then, probably a skippable week for a lot of people. And I know for a lot of people that's important. I happen to be collection complete, but there's a lot of people out there obviously who aren't, and it's tough to save those tokens, and sometimes you don't want to blow them on just anything. So probably a skippable week for you if you're not going to play discards. So.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's move on. We're going to go and we're going to look at the next season, because it's Avengers versus Xmen, and I remember the comics very well. It was a very, very cool comic book story that came out, and this is our season pass card. Now, we don't know, because we see these data mines and sometimes they change them a little bit before they end up coming out. I mean, this is pretty close now, though, to the release date of it. But we've got Hope Summers. Obviously, an Xmen 3/3. After you play a card here, you get +1 energy next turn. So some people saying this could get a little crazy. What do you think of the season pass card, man?
Well, honestly, I don't know if I'm not understanding it correctly. Because I feel like a lot of people are hype about this.
Yeah.
After you play a card here, you get +1 energy next turn. So Psylocke, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's just like Psylocke. Yep. I don't. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. I mean, 3/3 stat line, better than your Psylocke, obviously, right? But to me, it's just a Psylocke with a Hawkeye type thing mixed together. I feel like, so maybe you could do like a Psylocke and this, get +2 energy, ramp out some extra cards. I like it. It's okay. I'm happy with it. A cool one. A nice little basic regular season pass card.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be broken or anything like that. I mean, obviously, if you changed around some of the words and you made it like if she did that every turn, because imagine if it was ongoing,
like +1
play a card here, and you get +1 energy every single turn. You'd be like,
take my money.
It's like, yeah. But no, I agree. I think it'll be a pretty good card. Yeah, you're right. It's similar to a Psylocke. It really looks as if they're trying to get ramp back in the game a little bit.
Second type of ramp card in a little while.
Yeah. So it really looks like, I mean, you're still seeing some people playing those Electro Sandman ramp decks and stuff that are out there and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Not a fan.
Yeah, I that kind of stuff too. It never ends up getting. I never end up getting the right cards at the right time. And Wave is very scary to play now. It really is, because all those big cards that the other players have in their hands, and they can put anything down, and Dr. Doom's everywhere in a lot of decks and stuff like that, and you get buried now with a Wave.
Sandman is just seriously one of my number one not a fan of card. I mean, Sandman it just, I hate how it takes away the turn 6 or whatever you play about But all right, no more Sandman talk.
Yeah, Sandman came to be, I think, when bounce was so prevalent, because everybody was having those big bounce decks that would just blow all their cards out on the last turn, and the minute you put the Sandman down, it was like, nope, I'm out.
They completely annihilated Hitmonkey for a little while.
Yeah, it really did, man. Oh, that's great. So we got Hope Summers. Now this is what the season pass is going to look like. Some of these card backs are so amazing, man. I love the Thanos one from this month.
The Gauntlet, the actual Gauntlet. That one's beautiful.
Oh my God, it's one of the best card backs I think I've seen. And you got some cool stuff here. There's obviously Hope's there, and then you got an Iron Man variant that looks pretty cool, a Magneto variant that looks pretty cool.
I like the Magneto.
Yeah, the Magneto is really awesome. The Hope Summers, the variant that you're going to get, of course, at the end, and then the Avengers, and I guess that's Hope Summers there on the one card back, and the Avengers symbol is the other card back. So very, very cool looking stuff that we're going to get with the season pass this month. So, do you get the season pass every month?
Yeah, usually. Yep. And I'm also running a giveaway on my Twitter. If anyone needs a season pass.
Oh, there you go.
Over down the Zal Snap on Twitter.
There you go. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Season passes are usually, I think pretty much almost everybody I know that plays almost at least gets a season pass. It's not bad. If that's all you're going to do, you're not really going to spend or anything else on anything other than that. It's not a bad thing to do, because you're going to get a lot of good stuff out of that. Whatever.
It's great value.
It really is. All right, so we are going to look at some of the other cards from this upcoming season. So let's start here, and we have Pixie. Pixie is a 2/1. On reveal, shuffle the costs of the cards in your deck that started there. So changing the costs of your cards that are in your deck. So you want to talk RNG? This is for sure going to be a crazy, crazy RNG for this. I mean, all I keep thinking in my brain is I could play a 1-cost Galactus.
I'm excited for this one. And I think it's like any type of card like a Nico Minoru, right? Where the ability constantly changes and it's super, super cool. It keeps you on your feet. I think this is going to be an absolute blast. And I'm super, super excited for the cooks people are going to make for this card right here. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I got to ask you too, while we're there, while you mentioned cooking, because I like talking to people about that too. Do you make your own decks?
Well, it depends. Like on the YouTube, sometimes, well, about like I would say 65% of the YouTube videos I make are mostly homebrews or just variations of things that I saw online that I changed and tweaked that like fit more of my play style. But usually, if I ever do like or even if like it's a super viral, super popular deck and I can't find the owner, I usually won't put anything. I'll do a whole deck guide. But then like other videos I do like I just did Gunny Tees, super big dumb idiot.
That's a great deck.
I did the one on that. I did Tucker's Hit Monkey list. I did Revis's Air Control, and so I do like a little mixture of both. But whenever I play like online and ladder or something like that, I usually use like just like meta decks. I want to win, baby. You know what I
mean? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm the same way. This is coming from a background that I had, in Magic. When you're talking about, Magic had a set out every 3 months of a couple hundred cards, and you're talking thousands and thousands of cards that you could choose from, as opposed to Snap, where, to make something that's going to be completely and utterly different. Now it happens. Sometimes people do, but it's tough. But, when I'm talking about home brewing or cooking and stuff like that, you take a card or two. You find a deck that looks really cool to you and you like playing it, but then you think, you know what, there's this other card I kind of just want to throw in here. And you just switch a card out here or there. That's technically your own thing. You're doing something that makes you comfortable as far as playing goes. And so that's kind of what it is. I think a lot of people, especially maybe new players, may not necessarily understand, well, what are they talking about by cooking? What are they talking about by making their own decks? There's only so many cards that you can make. It's like there's only so many things you could do. But yeah, no, I like that. That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
It's always fun to just go out there and like one night when I can't sleep one night, I'll hop in the Marvel Snap and I'll just start plugging things and just start messing around. That's a lot of the enjoyment for me. You know what I mean? Because if you sit there and net deck all day, don't get me wrong, you'll win, you'll keep climbing. But like sometimes it's fun to sit back, go into a proving grounds with just a homebrewed brand new list. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, it really is. That was a big part of the fun that I used to have playing Magic back in the day, was literally, getting my binder cards, spreading the cards out and thinking like, all right, what can I put in my deck that's going to make my deck better? Would this work better than that? Would this work better than that? It's just a part of fun of playing these card games. So yeah, that's awesome. I love it. All right. So that was Pixie. We're going to move on to Mockingbird. Mockingbird is a 5/9. Costs 1 less for each card you have in play that didn't start in your deck.
Fire. Great. I think this is going to be seriously a good one. I'm very excited for a lot of these cards, right? Mainly this one, and I think War Machine, which I'm assuming we're going to get to pretty soon.
Oh, War Machine,
yeah. I think like this is going to go slide pretty well into a Loki, right? Some type of Loki list.
Yes.
It is a 5 cost, right? So who are you dropping really? I think you need to keep the Dino. I think you need Dino in there, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can just slot it in for something. Maybe you can tech out. I don't know. I just have to sit there and brew. But I think this has a place in there. And if in theory you get the Coulson, you get the Nick Fury, the Snow Guard, you might be able to throw this out for free.
Mirage,
Mirage, all those. And if getting this a free 9, it's possible. I'm not saying you're gonna hit every time. Probably gonna be like maybe even like 3, maybe average out of 2 or 3 right around there.
Still, dude, even if it's like a 2/9, like you said, or a 3/9 or a 2/9, that's pretty hot.
It's value. It's value. Yeah. And I'm assuming if you're looking to play the Mockingbird, you probably missed the Loki. You didn't draw it, got this card or something like that. So it gives another element of like cushion for the Loki decks, because the list already by itself is really good if you don't pull the Loki. But I think this is going to be a pretty good one in there, because you get it around 1 cost, you throw that down with your Dino. I mean, that's some stats. Those are some good stats.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's going to fit pretty good into a Loki. Loki's going to come back. People are going to be upset. Mockingbird was I don't know if you ever watched the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV show, but she was a pretty popular character actually in that show. So,
I don't think I've even heard of that.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s pretty good. It aired originally on ABC Network. So it was on ABC, but now I think they have it on Disney Plus. It's actually pretty good. It ran for like 3 seasons. Coulson was in it from the movies.
Oh.
So he was in it, but they brought in characters that you didn't see in any Marvel movies before. Deathlock was in it. Like the first season. They had Ghost Rider, but it was the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. It wasn't the Johnny Blaze.
Yeah,
Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
So it was the Ghost Rider who drove the car.
So,
but yeah, that's some pretty cool stuff. I enjoyed it. It was a little campy at times, a little weird, but yeah, I didn't mind it. But she was actually, her and Quake were really the 2 most beloved characters actually in that series. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, I agree. I think this is dead set going to go into a Loki deck. No doubt.
100%.
Cam Best will be happy, man. He's a big Loki. Yeah, him and Lambie. Oh man,
Lambie's a Loki king.
Lambie's gonna be loving it, man. All right, so Mockingbird. All right, then we've got. Let me see what I got next here. Nope, that is I brought this up just because of the fact that this is obviously the cards that are going to be coming out with Mockingbird, but I put this in here because I love Man-Thing.
Oh, that Man-Thing is nice. That's a good one.
I loved Man-Thing since so back in like the 70s or so, they used to come out with, we kind of had our own version of audiobooks back then, but they were records. They used to come out and they'd call them a comic book and record. And you'd play this record and they had the audio. So somebody reading the parts of the characters that were in the book. My mom literally bought me this book and record of Man-Thing. Now, mind you, this was a horror comic back then. And it was about a story of a clown who committed suicide in the swamp. He literally kills himself in the swamp. So this is in a book that she gave to an 8-year-old. So I tell my mom, I said, you want to know why I'm such a horror nut now? Is because you bought this for me when I was 8 years old. But I've been a fan of Man-Thing since then. And I literally have that book. So that comic book is Man-Thing #1, which came out in, I want to say 76 in and around that time, but I own that book.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so those comic covers are fire. I love them.
Me too. I love the High Evo one too.
Oh
my
God.
Nice.
The High Evo one's so cool. The Thanos one, I was hyped for that. The Galactus, of course. The Galactus one, I was hyped. I literally go through that. I split the card. My first split was inked. Dude, inked with the purple crackle. I'm like, what? And then Thanos, the first one I got, well, that was a gold. So I'm like, dude, this is freaking amazing. The comic book stuff.
It did look a little weird though, that Thanos one with the gold.
Yes, because you couldn't see. You can't see the title.
Yeah.
The gold makes the title white. So until you split it, you have to almost move the card a little bit in order, like move your, like if you're playing on a phone, you have to kind of move your phone a little bit to see the title. So yeah, no, I agree. It looks better inked. I like the inked one.
Oh yeah, it looks great inked. Yeah. Great.
I'm partial to the ink comic covers because it's like very raw, like when the artist would have drawn them. That's how it would have looked. They would have been black and white. But yeah, I put that up there because that's my next big one. I cannot wait for that card to come out for that. Oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait. But here he is. There's your War Machine, man. This card's been looked for a long time. This card had been data mined forever. If you go back and look at the beginning of the data mines, he was there. But at the time, I'm trying to think his thing was give something to 1 power cards. I think back then it was something weird. It was
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't remember though. I haven't thought about that. The original from like old back when so long.
Because everybody thought it would be good. Oh, this is gonna be a great card in Zoo. And I was But now look at it. And so until the end of next turn, nothing can stop you from playing cards anywhere. Dude, he's a Jeff. He gives you the ability to make your cards into a Jeff.
I like how it says on reveal though, nothing can stop you from playing cards.
Yeah, so it's only dude. So it's all of a sudden here you come and you could put cards anywhere you want.
Which is crazy. Lockdown. If you're running Lockdown and you see a War Machine, you better just get out of there. You gotta roll Tide. You cannot stay. It's gonna be every single one of your cards are a Jeff. I mean, that's just so insane. Like I said, if you face that Lockdown, you throw that down on turn 4, play into a Storm lane, play into a Professor X lane, not meta breaking because Storm isn't, or Lockdown isn't like #1 like it was a couple months back, but still a super influential card that I think is gonna be super good, man.
Oh, you got to be loving this one, man. No doubt for that Lockdown shell.
Yeah, right. Or even you can even use it in Lockdown. Let's say your opponent threw down a Cold Obsidian in your Storm lane with your Storm and your Iron Lad. You're down. Yeah, you slotted Jeff in there. You didn't draw the Miss Marvel. Throw down the War Machine. Play some stuff in there. Yeah, good. I like this. I like this.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun card. But plus, such an iconic character.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously,
the base design is beautiful.
It really is. Yeah, it's really nice. That's going to look awesome split. Maybe they'll come out with those new splits in time for that. Oh, I know they're supposed to have that space one or whatever that they're going to do. That's going to look amazing and stuff with the gun coming out of there like that.
I remember the original Infinity border. If you played like back in the day, like in the first couple months of the game, the original just purple Infinity border.
Yeah.
At the time, they were like, let's go.
Yeah, I know, right? How times have changed. Since then.
When I came back, that was a big, I was like, what the heck? They look so much better now.
Yeah, they're going to look awesome. I can't wait till they do some of these changes. I'm pretty excited about some of them that they've got coming out.
The clans.
Clans is going to be fun, dude. Yeah. We've got Cannonball, 5/8. On reveal, move an enemy card away from here and add a rock where it was. If it can't move, destroy it to add the rock. So he can destroy a card if the card can't move. Is this a blob destroy? He can destroy blob. No,
this is literally like blob. How you doing? I'm here. What's going on? This is literally it's literally like what this is for. Then again, you look at it. I mean, if you know they're gonna let's say they drop the blob down, like they ramp him out or something like that, right? I wonder. So like if they have 4 cards there with Lockjaw, it's gonna pick a random one, I assume, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's gonna let's say it just picks. There's a blob, Magneto, Lockjaw on a stone, moves a stone to whatever, replaces it with a rock. That's good. That's not bad. Then you can like Shang-Chi that lane or something like that. I'm excited for it. I don't really know where it's gonna go into though. I mean, could you put it in move? Maybe
move. You know what I was thinking it could go into too, but I don't know that it would necessarily fit into the shell because it's pretty it's pretty set in the way that it works. You could maybe stick this into an Annihilus deck. And almost like a junk, put another rock out there in a lane and stuff like that, and end up but I just don't know because that's very fluid in the way that it's played. You're playing Annihilus, you're playing Sentry, then you're playing Annihilus on 5. You'd almost have to play him on 6. Which I guess you can. I don't know.
5/8's not bad. It's the stat line.
No, stat line's not too bad. Not at all. But yeah, it's funny. They might probably looked at this and like, yeah, that blob card's going to get out of hand. We're probably going to have to do something.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's so crazy. I can't. You can throw them down, and I guess it just moves that like a random card from that location to somewhere else. So you could do maybe like a whole little kingpin action or something.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go. That is a look ahead, obviously, at March. We've already seen a little bit of what we're going to be getting in April. April looks as if they haven't announced it yet, but it looks as if it's going to be a Thunderbolt series. Has to be, because all those characters are and I think the reason that it probably is coming out is because the writer's strike and everything last year pushed everything back. And the Thunderbolts, I believe I think that's going to be a movie now with Marvel, but I think that was due to come out this year. So I think that's probably why we were getting that. But we saw all that stuff. I mean, there's insane cards in that too. That Red Hulk.
Yeah, God, Red Hulk. Dude, you want to talk about like a high Evo counter at the wazoo. Yes. Imagine that. But even if it's in your hand, I mean, with like the decks I use, I usually don't have a turn 1 anyway. So if it's in your hand, that's a what? What'd you start at 10? He just goes at 6/14, 6/18, 6/22.
No, I think that dude, he's going to be insane, man.
Yeah, I love him. I love him so much.
Yeah, he's going to be insane. I can't believe Harrison Ford from Star Wars is playing that character.
Red Hulk?
He is playing Red Hulk in the movie.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Because the actor who played General Ross in the other films passed away. So they had to replace him. So they're replacing him with Harrison Ford, and General Ross is Red Hulk.
Oh, so that's a good actor. Good pick.
Yeah. So you're going to see that big Red Hulk body with Harrison Ford's face on.
That's gonna be great.
Oh my God, that's gonna be awesome. So there you go. So that's a look at next season. All right, man. This is only for the 3rd time ever on my show that I'm doing this. I started this a few weeks back. with the Kid Snap. I got an idea from them that love those guys. They had that game they play about guess the deck, where they use AI and stuff like that to kind of give you hints as to what the deck is going to be. So I thought, you know what, let me do something kind of according to me, because, you know, I'm old. So I like pixelated stuff. Listen, that's just the way it was. I grew up with pixelated things. Everything that we played back in the day, from the old Mario right off the bat to some of the other games like the Final Fantasy games and stuff like that, all pixel characters, right? So I thought, you know, pixels are so hated on, underrated. Nobody likes them. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a little game, and I'm going to call it Guess the Pixel. So Zal, you're going to be the third person to play here. I'm going to see how you do. Now, you're up against some hard competition because Nerf Herder killed it.
Yeah, I got to beat him. I got to go perfect.
He absolutely killed it last week. So we're going to play some Guess the Pixel, and we're going to start off right now. So we're going to go with this one first. I'm going to show, now for those who are listening on audio, I know this is a little difficult because it's hard to explain all this, but I will do my best. So I've got a pixel up there. We got yellows and browns, little gold. We got, I don't know, looks like the browns kind of coming straight down on the left and the right. We got a little bit of blue up on the top right-hand side as well. But what do you think, Zal? What do you got for the first Guess the Pixel here?
Well, off rip, okay. I don't really. All right, I'm just gonna shoot. For off rip, the blue, I'm getting like Ironheart-ish type things going on.
Okay.
It's the background for me though. It's like a brownish. It's like
I'm gonna give you one little hint.
Yeah.
The red is not red; it's actually brown. So I'll give you that one hint.
Honestly, when you said that, I got shocker. I'm guessing shocker.
You would be correct. That absolutely is shocker. Yes. There you go.
Okay, nice. We'll take that.
You can see the shocker. You got the little beady eyes up there on the top, and the electric stuff coming off of his hands, and the belt there below, and he's got the gold and the brown tank top and tights, and the yellows on the bottom. So there you go. Yes, it is shocker. So there you go. You're one for one, man.
I'm
one
so surprised.
All right, here we go. Number 2.
Domino.
Oh, look at that. How quick he gets that one, man.
Oh,
you
sorry,
got the guns from the side. I didn't even get to explain that. Look at that. I have to go back here. Well, you had a gray, what looks like a kind of a gun, and then you got an arm going out in the one direction and all white behind it. Man, he nailed it. Got it right off the bat. It is Domino. So there you go. A very, very underplayed card, unless you happen to be like me and throws it in an Agatha deck, because it gets played on every turn too. So there you go. It is Domino. All right, next one. This one's going to be tough, I think, but you never know. So we got some grays, we got some blacks, we got a little bit of red in there as well. Also a little bit of, I don't know, like maybe flesh color there as well in that pixel. This one's a little tough. Almost kind of
the flesh colors throw me off.
Yeah.
It's throwing me off. Because at first I was thinking Knoll, right? That was my first initial guess.
Are you serious?
Oh, I'm killing it.
You are killing it, man. He got it again. It is Knoll.
It was the background. It was the background.
The background of the window that he's in front of, or whatever that is. It could be a spider web. I don't know. It looks almost like a window, but yeah, like maybe stained glass or something. But yeah, the reds and the blacks were the sword that he holds. The gray, of course, is the arm. The long, wonderful gray hair up there with the red eyes. Looks absolutely demonic. And then the little, almost like flowing skirt he's got down at the bottom there. It absolutely is Knoll, man. You're 3 for 3, dude. You're 3 for 3.
We're rolling.
All right, man. Number 4.
Bast.
No, that was the easiest one of the bunch, and he got that one right off as well. It is Bast with the flowing locks and the colors. You got the red and the green on one side, the blue on the other. I actually like this pixel. I think it's a nice one. It's actually kind of cool.
I like the colors. I like the colors a lot in the hair.
I do too. Whatever. You got of course, the lion face on the front with the red eyes, but yes, it absolutely is Bast, man. You are. I don't know, man. You're doing really well.
Speed run.
You're doing really well. All right, this is the last one, man. Can you get them all? God. Last one.
Oh. You hooked me up. It's Electra.
Oh man, he knew it right off the dude. Absolutely killed it. He absolutely kills it. It is. Oh, it's not Hope Summers. What am I doing there? It's not Hope Summers. It's not that either. Well, where the hell's the Electra? It's up here someplace. There she is. It is Electra. The fire on the left. Of course, the red suit and the hair and stuff like that. Now, this is. I mean, look at that. Like every single one of them. Did you have a lot of these that you knew, or did you just have you just seen them before?
Well, the Knoll, because of the sword, saw that. That one, you saw the weapon right there. The shocker, if you didn't tell me the pants, if you didn't tell me the pants, I had no idea. And then the bass was pretty easy. And then I think that was all of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was especially with the weapon. If I can see the weapon, then I got that. I got that. I'm surprised. Before we started, I was like, I always struggle so hard with these on Twitter.
No, man, you killed it, dude. 2 in a row. Everybody got to guess the picks. Hey, I'm loving it. I absolutely dig it, man.
You got to keep the streak.
Yeah, I know, right? You and Nerf Herder both killed it. Either that, or I got to get some harder pixels, or maybe blow them up even further so you can't see anything. That's amazing, dude. That's awesome.
Cool.
All right, so a couple more questions before I let you go. Firstly, what are you looking forward to? I mean, I always talk to people about the economy in the game and how the game is going. I love talking to people like yourself that have different ideas on the games and stuff like that. So what are you most looking forward to? Now you talked, I know you got a little excited about the clans when we talked about clans. What are you most looking forward to come from Marvel Snap? I know one of the things that I would like to see would be a draft mode. Because I just think that would be a lot of fun. It would get, the players who are maybe just pool 1 or pool 2, they can kind of play almost with anybody because everybody's going to be you're going to go through a draft. You're going to be pulling different cards. So I kind of thought that would be interesting. But what are you most looking forward to from Marvel Snap coming out and what they could do going forward?
I'm really excited about border selection. That's gonna be a big one. Keeping the animation on the card, but then allowing you to match different. You get a green crackle on your lizard or something like that. And so you don't want to keep it at the green border, right? I mean, obviously you have to because it matches so well. But I'd rather have the animation. I want like the premium animation that you get, but then also keeping that green border. You know what I mean? Just so you can keep the match. I'm really excited for that. I'm really, really excited for the clans. I don't really know what they're going to do with that yet. If it's like, I don't know if anyone if you played a Clash of Clans or Clash Royale, is that
Clash
kind
Royale,
of game? Yeah. It's like, where you compete together, maybe against other clans. That'd be really, really fun.
Yeah.
Nothing, but it's anything that's like passive, not passive, but like you play a couple games, you're good for the week, you get your rewards at the end based on how you do. Something like that in clans would be really, really cool. And that it would just further the community growth of Marvel Snap because only community, like right now, as in the game, there's no like interpersonal connections inside the actual game Marvel Snap besides a few emotes and a couple words, right? And so having that clan thing with maybe like a little text, a little chat in there, that'd be awesome. Really looking forward to that. I hope they really execute that well. And something I'm hoping for, I've been thinking about this a lot. I feel like recently these bundles have been like insane, like price wise, right?
Yes,
I mean, the value's been there, of course.
Yeah.
But the price wise has been insane. And I think this like kind of roots back to a bigger issue between like the roof and ceiling between like free to play players and like whales. I'm not saying I'm not a whale. I mean, I do spend a little bit, you know what I mean?
Trust me. I completely get you. I've spent way more money on this than I probably should have.
Yeah, right. But like, I'm almost collection complete. I skipped a couple cards I just didn't want, like Martyr and Super Giant and all the cards from this season. But like, I spent a pretty good amount of money in this game, and like I have access to almost every single deck. I have almost every single good card you could have, and so I have a whole bunch of different things that I can use. But like, for free, a lot of my friends back at home, like my in real life friends, most of them are free to play. And they have a hard time reaching infinite because they're around like 3,000 collection level. So they've been playing for a long time because the amount of grinding it takes to get that high collection levels free to play is very, very hard, very difficult to do. I just wish somehow they increased the floor and the ceiling between free to play and people who pay for the game, because me and you, we excelled so fast. We got there so fast. I'm like at 8,000 collection level. You know what I mean? But like for a free to play player, it would take years.
Yes.
If you're a free to play player to be collection complete, which is like, it shouldn't take that long if I can just swipe a credit card and get there pretty fast using a pretty good amount of money, right? So I hope to see some type of leveling out between the floor and the ceiling between those kind of players. I really hope they do something like that. And yeah, those are the main things I'm looking for. Those 3 things right there is what I'm really looking for when it comes to the future of Marvel Snap. And more variants. Who doesn't want more variants?
Oh my gosh, dude. Some of those variants are just like I said, that those comic book covers, I hope they keep doing them. And some of them, I think we're getting, what are we getting? An Art Germ Shop takeover, I think, this month.
Yeah,
Dude, man, his stuff is fire. Like
so
that,
good.
I have the Mystique that he did. I have her inked. It looks like a portrait. Like you literally could put that on your wall, like some of the stuff
right there.
Oh my god, dude, his stuff is insane. We had obviously Peach Momoko. She's doing comic books now, which is amazing. She's writing an upcoming Xmen book that's coming out.
Oh really?
Yeah, like it's. I love, one of the reasons why I love this game so much. Part of it is the artwork. It really is. I just love growing up on comics the way I did, reading them from, the early 70s on through, and the time of Stan Lee and Ditko back in the 70s to, up to now, and the artists and stuff and what they do is tremendous. And I absolutely love it. From Dan Hip, I love me some Dan Hip, man. I think Dan Hip does tremendous.
Dan Hip enjoyer.
Oh, I love his artwork, dude. That helicarrier, when I pulled that, I'm like, this is one of the best things I've ever seen. It's got the smiley face on it, and it's got the I love it, man. To the stuff that's more realistic, and now to the comic book covers. It's really one of the big reasons why I enjoy the game.
Me too. And especially the comic book covers too. Like when I think the High Evo came out last month or something like that, right? I wasn't like in the comic book scene like whatsoever, like at all. But then one time on my drive home, I was like, I usually listen to podcasts when I go in and out of work. So I was looking for something new, and I just put on a comic book podcast, which is like really cool. I'm working my way through the beginning of the Bronze Age right now with like Human Torch and Namor and that whole thing.
It's so fun, man.
The original Human Torch was like a robot, or like
he was an android,
that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He was
super cool.
He's literally one of the first Marvel characters that came out. He was right around the beginning with Namor, like you said. It's a heck of a journey. Man, you can certainly message me anytime you want, and I'll give you recommendations on what to read, because I have been through. I used to read. Now, granted, I was a big Spider-Man fan when I was a young kid, so I read a lot of Spider-Man. Back when they killed off Gwen Stacy, which was his girlfriend at the time, which was unheard of. In comic books, you never heard of a character getting killed off and not coming back. They almost always did. Now, she has since in like the 90s and 2000s, but for the longest time, she stayed dead, which was like a shocking thing. But I loved very weird. I read a lot of Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange in the 70s and 80s was a bunch of like psychedelic color, and a bunch of he'd always be in some other weird dimensions somewhere, and all that. That's where I ended up finding Agatha. Was from his books, and also from a Fantastic Four book, which totally creeped me out because it was the old witch Agatha that you see on the cards.
Oh yeah.
The Fantastic Four, for whatever reason, decided that they wanted her to watch their children. Apparently, I guess she posed as this nice little old lady, but she lived in this big creepy old haunted house, and it was like, who the hell's going to leave their kids with that? And she did, and they did, and then it ended up turning very badly. But yeah, there's so many cool books to read. And I know Gunny T and I were talking a little bit about it too when he was on the show, because he was never much of a comic reader. And that's one of the things that I like to do in my show is I like to talk a little bit about where these the cards come from. And a lot of times some of the stories and stuff that you should read. There is a Spider-Man book that's out right now. Incredible. In one of the best comics I've read in ages. It's Ultimate Spider-Man. So they're restarting their Ultimate line back up again, but it is Peter when he's in his 40s. So they're not going from a young standpoint. It's from an older Peter Parker who is married and has children. His Uncle Ben is still alive. So it's very, very odd book, but man, is it good. Just done so well. And yeah, I always say, support your local comic book shop if you have them, because they are very few and far between now. So hard to find them. If you can't, grab them on digital. You can get them from Amazon now and read them on a Kindle. It's really amazing to go back. Like the Thanos stuff, I know everybody has seen the MCU film, Infinity War and they escape me now, but the Thanos stuff, but they don't really realize how different it was. In the comics, it was very centered around death. Death was his not really necessarily girlfriend, but she was the guiding light for him. She was pushing him to do what he did. And so you really didn't see that in any of the films, because I don't really think they could have portrayed that and done a great job with it. It would have been a little tough to get a handle on that.
Yeah.
But it's so good to read them, man. And it's great to hear, people like yourself are doing that, because that's really where all this came from. And none of the movies would be here. These games certainly wouldn't be here without all the lore from the comics. So that's awesome, man. I love to hear that.
My friend right down the street, like childhood best friend, like we still are neighbors. Like love that kid to death. He is super into DC. He's superheroes in general.
DC's great too.
Yeah, he's a massive DC fan. He has like a horde of Flash comics, like so many.
Love the Flash.
Yeah, he subscribed when he was a kid. I forget what he told me. It was some type of comic book thing where he got stuff shipped to his house like weekly or monthly or something like that. And he showed me all them the other day. I mean, they are so cool. It got me into it. I listened to the podcast, and now I don't really buy the books. I don't know if there's a comic book store near me. I have to look, but I go on YouTube and I listen to like people read what it says, but they take the words out so they'll get the copyright, but they still have the pictures there. And so I just listened to that. I listened to like I saw like a Venom one, but he had like God powers. He was like, fighting Null or something.
That's the Null storyline. Yeah, that was really good actually. Yeah. It's great, man. It really is. Some of them have come out, and there have been some, like you were telling me earlier, you're a Star Wars fan. There were some amazing Star Wars comics, amazing books. Yeah, dude. Like they did there's a book called, you should read it. It's called Dark Empire. Fantastic. It is a direct sequel to Return of the Jedi. And so like what happens, and I'll tell you, when you're reading it, you're gonna realize where they got the plot for the newest trilogy from, because that whole thing about Snoke and everything like that book, the Emperor's essence lived and was able to go into clone bodies. That's where they got that from. Was that comic book. But the comic book is excellent. And from what I understand, I don't know how true this is, but when Carrie Fisher passed away, they were supposed to make the final film very centric on her. Luke's film was the second story. He was not supposed to really die. And then Leia was supposed to be very centric in the end. And that is how that happened in those books. So look that book up and read it. It's
I got to check it out. I have to.
It's absolutely
probably does a lot better than the movies did.
The book is one of the best books I've read, especially for Star Wars. But it's fantastic. Very, very dark, because Luke realizes the only way that he could take out the Emperor is to turn to the dark side. So Luke actually goes about as far as he could go, and Leia brings him back at the end. But it's tremendous.
Wow, that sounds good. It sounds really good.
Tremendous. I love it, man. Keep reading the books. Yeah, anytime, look me up. I'll give you some recommendations about what to read, because there are some great things out there.
Hell yeah! Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Well, hey, listen. I want you to tell all the people that are listening out there where they can find you, when you stream. Let everybody know, man.
Well, I primarily hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zach or Zal. I primarily focus on YouTube. It's where I mainly do most of my content, but I try to squeeze in like a couple streams a week, like 2 or 3, just about on Twitch. Everything is at Zal Snap. My Twitter, my YouTube, both at Zal Snap. Someone already has Zal Snap on Twitch. Don't know what's up with that, so it's Zal Snap _, which kind of sucks. But yeah, that's all my socials. Yeah, follow me if you like. And seriously, thank you so much for having me on here. I was so nervous. To come on here. But dude, this is seriously such a fantastic conversation. I'm really glad we both shared a lot of similar interests. I'm really, really appreciative for you having me on here. Seriously, thank you.
You are absolutely welcome, man. You can come back anytime. I'd love to have you back again. Are you doing the stuff for that now? Do you stream? Do you do the stuff for the Twitch streaming and stuff like that, or do you go? No, are you in the creator program at all, or are you?
I actually just applied. I literally just applied. Nice. Yeah, I figured.
That's awesome. Good luck,
Oh, thank you so much. I was talking to Docty, and he said like when I had like I think I'm like just about like 800 subscribers, so we're close to 1,000 threshold.
Yeah,
great. He said the earlier the better, because they take so long, right?
Yeah.
So I think I did it like 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we do that. And I got accepted into Pursuit Gaming. Pursuit Gaming added me onto the team with Tucker and all them and Docty. So yeah, it's
nice, dude.
Super exciting. Yeah, happened this morning,
man. That's awesome.
Things are looking good.
Love it, man. Love to hear it. That's fantastic. Great stuff, dude. Like I said, man, go check him out. It's Zal Snap. Was an awesome conversation, man. I loved having you. Again, welcome back anytime. And thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate you being with me.
The pleasure and honor is all mine. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you follow and subscribe to him. Seriously, an amazing podcast host. So glad I came on again. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that, guys. Yes, and please make sure you drop a like on the video here. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. This will also be out in audio format. I know a lot of people love to listen to it on audio, which is totally cool. I will have that out a little bit later. This will be out in about, say, a half an hour or so. So yes, make sure you check it out. And I will talk to you all on the next episode of Snap Decisions. Everybody have a great night. Stay safe. Be kind to one another. And I'll talk to you all soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye, guys.